Happy Thursday, everyone. I'm Dr. Adrian Cable. I'm Vice President of Research and Development at Lifesize, and welcome to episode 3 of my LinkedIn series on advanced collaboration. I'll just give a recap on what advanced collaboration is before we go any further for those that are new. Advanced collaboration is basically how we work together going beyond video and voice. So there are great tools out there to help people work together when they're communicating by video or by voice. But a lot of work involves using other tools like the dry erase whiteboard, like working on content, like brainstorming, which is more than just talking. And so we're covering tools and techniques to improve productivity wherever and however you choose to collaborate. And today we're continuing our theme of hybrid work. And specifically the changing face of the physical office. So what is hybrid work? Well, hybrid work is essentially a set of tools and techniques to help you work productively from anywhere, rather than workdays being optimized around people being in a particular place, i.e. your office, and anything else like work from home being second best. That's always how it's been until the pandemic hit last year. But of course, everybody now has had to adjust to a new normal where most of us work from home. And we're finding that the tools to do that productively aren't really there yet. Now, the transition that we've seen to this kind of location agnostic work style, that's not going to go away even when the pandemic ends and things start getting back to normal. Heightened awareness and fear over future pandemics means that the days of 100 people crowding into a conference room and watching a presentation will likely be a thing of the past. So even when people do start returning to the office, there will be a kind of new norm developing of what we call local remote work. And local remote work is when you may be physically in your office building, you may be in your cube, you may be in your own office, but rather than people physically crowding into a small space to participate in some kind of collaboration or discussion, you'll see more and more people connecting into video meetings and collaborations from wherever they happen to work normally, rather than physically moving. And so what that means is that many of the challenges that we're having to overcome when working from home, in terms of the tools and workflows that are changed by that, those will persist even when people start going back to the office. So last week we began to explore some of those challenges that are unique to this principle of hybrid work. A great example is what we call democratic versus autocratic. So, in a real meeting room where everyone's piled in, everyone can, if they want, jump up to the whiteboard and contribute some thoughts, or add some bullet points to a presentation that's being worked on over a laptop that people are crowded around. When you take away that physical proximity, you end up with a much more autocratic set of solutions right now. A presentation sharing in meeting tools that's kind of only one way, so other people can't move the slides around or annotate the slides, for example. And so this week we're going to dig into something actually quite specific, which is the transition from how office work used to be to how things are going to be in the new world. And it's clear that moving forward, we'll often have multiple physical offices from where to work. We're going to have a home office, we'll have multiple different spaces in our workplace office. And so there's this new kind of work style that needs to emerge of how to productively make work patterns portable between different spaces. And what that means is that a lot of activities that shared meeting spaces have traditionally been great for will need to be refactored for this new world to support this workflow. So I'm first of all going to talk about everybody's favorite collaboration tool. Now, if you think about what your favorite collaboration tool is, you'd probably never guess that for most people, it's actually the dry erase whiteboard. It's hard to find a meeting space without a dry erase whiteboard. And the reason for its popularity is simple. It's just a phenomenal tool for brainstorming, ideating, creating content of all types, structured, unstructured, working on your own, working with 10 other people. It doesn't take up a lot of space. It costs under $100. It's super easy to use and doesn't require any training. It's an immensely flexible and unsung tool that allows people to ideate and brainstorm. And it's a growing product category. So the whiteboard category saw 100% growth in the year 2020 relative to 2019. It's 100 million whiteboards sold in 2020 globally. And to give you a context, there's about that number of babies born globally as well. It's about one whiteboard per new human. And the reason for the growth is quite simple, that in the pandemic, people are moving their offices and their classrooms into their home. And people are finding that the tool that they miss from their work environment or their teaching environment is their whiteboard. And it's a phenomenal productivity and communications tool. It's used for so many different things, brainstorming and teaching, sure, but also project planning, presenting ideas, reviewing sales figures, but sharing the whiteboard with people when you're not physically present in the same room, it's really, really tough. And it's something that many people have never even tried. They just assume that when they're working remote with people or talking remote with people, they have to use other tools instead of a dry erase whiteboard. But if you have tried to share a dry erase whiteboard over video, it's really not a great experience at all. And I'm actually lucky enough to have a dry erase whiteboard in my home office, and so let me just break the third wall here and show you my setup. So I know that previously I've talked about my home office. Unfortunately, this is not really my home office. My home office actually looks a lot more dull. And that is my dry erase whiteboard. And if I want to work on the dry erase whiteboard while I'm presenting or teaching over any kind of remote collaboration flow, it's really hard. The camera's not at a great angle. There's shadows and reflections. While I'm working, my body's in the way of the writing. And typically the kind of resolution that you get through video just isn't good enough to do a good job. Fortunately, I have an incredible tool to make that a lot better, and that tool is Captivo. And full disclosure, Captivo is now a Lifesize product, but I don't want this to be an infomercial. And in fact, there's really no other products out on the market that do what Captivo does. So I think I feel comfortable about sharing it. Now, Captivo it's basically a camera that sits above your dry erase whiteboard on an arm. It works with whiteboards up to 6 feet by 4 feet in size. And when you turn Captivo on, rather than having this horrible, awkward view where you really can't see what's going on with the whiteboard, instead it's shared with this beautiful view of a crystal clear digital representation of my whiteboard. And as I work on the whiteboard, everything is updated in real time. So I can write on the board. Thanks for watching my series. And as I write, and my writing is pretty bad, Captivo is streaming everything I'm doing on the board live. And just to be clear, this is $100 whiteboards. These are normal pens, got a normal eraser. There is nothing at all special about my setup here. Captivo just uses AI and machine learning and image processing to turn what I write into a stream that I can share. Now, of course, once what I have is in digital form, I can do amazing things that are not possible with a typical dry erase whiteboard. If, for example, I have visual impairments, being in a classroom where dry erase whiteboard is used is very, very hard. There's no way for me to see the content that's being worked on. But with Captivo, I can turn on OCR, which basically converts everything I've written on the whiteboard into text, and I can use a screen reader software.
Thanks for watching my series.
So really something new that lowers the barrier to using whiteboards for many people. Another thing I can do is I can translate into different languages. So imagine, for example, that I'm an educator doing an online class, and I have students who are connecting in from many different countries. I can use Captivo to translate into a different language, right? And this translation is completely in real time. So I'm going to write now on the board. I can write in English. I can write in Spanish, but I'm writing in English. And as I write on the board, everything is translated in real time into Spanish, which is kind of amazing, right? So again, it's about taking down barriers when we're moving into this remote collaboration world, and not simply reproducing what we do in the physical world digitally, but adding new capabilities that are just not possible in using only analog tools. Now, the other great thing about Captivo is that it means you never need to take notes anymore. We've all had this horrible feeling when we're in a meeting, stuff's being presented on the whiteboard incredibly quickly, and we're scribbling to take notes down because we're worried about the board being erased. And in the meantime, we're not paying attention to the educator or the presenter because there's just too much going on. But with Captivo, that never happens, because everything that I'm doing on the whiteboard is automatically organized into a series of slides called the timeline. And at any point, I can just press the timeline button to bring up my work as a series of slides, and I can go back in time to before content was erased to review it, go back forward in time to the live view, or I can save the slides out as a PDF and then access them later on. And this is all done completely automatically. There's no capture button that I'm pressing here. We're just using AI technology to automatically analyze everything that's being written on the board, and we condense it into a minimal number of slides that includes all the information. So you don't get 100 slides at the end of a meeting that's updated every time you add a word. And Captivo works either on its own through a web browser, as we're showing right now, or it integrates into your favorite meeting tools. So we integrate into Zoom, into Teams, into Lifesize. So whenever your workflow involves whiteboarding and you need to share, there's now this fabulous tool available to make that effortlessly part of your remote workflow. Now, of course, while many uses of the whiteboard, like education, for example, are basically broadcast, whiteboarding is used as a presentation tool, there are also occasions where people really do need to crowd together over a whiteboard and work together. And the tools that exist to kind of emulate that kind of experience digitally, the interactive whiteboard type products like the Google Jamboard and the Cisco WebEx board, they are really not the kind of products that you want to bring into your home office. They cost thousands of dollars. They're very large and heavy, take up a lot of space. And so we need new solutions to kind of emulate the kind of workflows that people do with whiteboards when they use when you have more than one person working together on brainstorming or ideation. And we'll talk a little bit about those kind of tools next week. So before I wrap up, I'm just going to show how amazing whiteboards are if you're not already convinced by it. Well, at least how amazing some artists are when given a whiteboard. And I'm just going to show you some amazing art that's been created on whiteboards. This really just blows my mind, having no artistic ability at all. The kind of things that people can do given good tools. Just amazing. There's a T-Rex, and finally, I'm going to show you what not to do. This is a whiteboard from a math class. This is why you need to take care when using any meeting tool, no matter how effective it is. And so next week, we're going to talk about how to do a successful video brainstorm in hybrid work. And I won't say any more about that right now, except to say it doesn't look like this. Thanks very much for your time. See you next week.